Hey there everyone, it's Scurvy back again with another episode of Scurvy's Rambles, and this week I want to elaborate some comments I made about Stellar Blade on stream last week. The comment in question is that I believe the game does not have a soul. So when a gamer says that a game doesn't have a soul, ultimately what we mean is that the game doesn't really have an identity. It doesn't really stand apart from anything else in the genre that it's in. As you can see on the image, I've listed out some games that have soul, and other games that don't have soul. I'm not going to be talking about every single game that's on this image, because I want the main topic of the video to be about Stellar Blade, and what I played through so far in Devil May Cry 5. Speaking of Devil May Cry 5, I've been enjoying the hell out of that game. At the time of recording, I'm almost 6 hours in, and I'm currently on Mission 12 of the main story mode. A minor critique I do have of the game is largely the camera, but I think as I start to get better at the game, it will feel like the camera is not fighting with me as much. But other than that, oh my god, the combat in that game is fucking amazing. I don't really know how it compares to other Devil May Crys. I'm gonna be playing those later down the line in the summer. But man, I really enjoy playing as Dante and V, because I could get some pretty sick combos off of those characters. I'm still learning how Nero works, to be honest. But if I had to describe both the game and its combat system with one word or phrase, it would be gameplay flow. Because my god, everything just flows so well together. And also, part of that gameplay flow applies to the unlocks you could get for all the characters. Also, after enemy encounters, the downtime that you earn from it is also part of that gameplay flow, because you're not in that downtime for an insane amount of time. Some parts of downtime do last longer than others, but for the most part, it's pretty seamless between combat, a little bit of downtime, more combat, a little bit of downtime, more combat, a little bit of downtime, then boss. Or something in that order. And yes, I also count cutscenes as part of the downtime. And guess what? Unlike in Stellar Blade, you're actually able to skip the cutscenes in Devil May Cry 5. Speaking of Stellar Blade, let's get into that. A lot of what I'm paraphrasing here comes from Synthetic Man and the Electric Underground's review of the game, so I thought I'd just let you guys know that now. Though from my personal observations that I made on stream, I just think the game is trying to be too many things at once. I think it's trying to be like a character action game a la Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, but it also wants to have more methodical strikes like it's Dark Souls. Those are two genres that really do not mesh well together. And we see that in the many, many flaws of Stellar Blade's combat system. First off, why the fuck can Eve not juggle enemies? That is a standard feature of character action games. Second off, why does Eve not have invincibility frames when she's doing her combos? What this means is that if an enemy attacks you during one of your combos, and because you can't juggle enemies, that means you could get taken out of your combos. Doesn't that feel like really fucking shitty? Now, from what I've heard, Stellar Blade isn't a hard game, but with serious flaws like that, I have heard that it is frustrating at times. Electric Underground in his review said that it's just far better to avoid the basic enemies, so you'll have less of a chance of dying because of the game's flawed combat system. Now, originally, I was going to talk about a lot more about Stellar Blade's flaws, most notably the gunplay, but I decided against that because it would take up too much time. Instead, I also want to talk about character design and story, because I believe that is also integral for a game to have its own identity. One thing I will give Stellar Blade credit for is Eve's design. Me likey Eve's design, but that's basically all I could really say about it, because the story just sucks. I said it on stream before, and I'll say it again. The story takes itself way too seriously for the genre that it's trying to be in. From the reviews of the game that I've seen, they're pretty unanimous when it comes to the story being forgettable and boring. The fact that the developers made it so you can't skip the cutscenes on your first playthrough really just shows how committed they are to the game's padding of its runtime. going back to Devil May Cry, I mean, a lot of people know who Dante is. I mean, his design is pretty recognizable. You know, he got the silver hair, blue eyes, his awesome looking sword, his red jacket. But unlike Eve, Dante also has a personality. He's cocky, he's arrogant, but he also just kicks so much ass. As for all the crazy shit that happens in the story, Dante basically just views it as just another day on the job. Part of Devil May Cry's identity, not just Devil May Cry 5, but the series as a whole, is the fact that the stories are fucking crazy and the characters are fucking cool. I can't think of anyone else from Stellar Blade's story except for Eve because the rest of the cast is fucking forgettable. Basically, to conclude this section, go buy Devil May Cry 5 or Bayonetta 2 or Nier Automata instead of Stellar Blade. It's a far better bang for your buck, as those games that I listed are much cheaper than Stellar Blade, and you're also going to get more for your money. On the topic of disappointments, I also want to talk about South Park Snow Day. Oh my goodness, what the fuck happened there? I know it's just fan speculation, but I'm also in agreement with the community here. I'm pretty sure Matt and Trey didn't really want to make this game. I think they were just kind of contractually obligated to do so. With the exception of the major cutscenes, which is like the beginning, some parts of the middle, and the ending cutscene, there's not really much to write home about in terms of the story. The setting of this giant snowstorm really restricts like what could happen, even though this is South Park where some of the craziest shit imaginable happens. In terms of the gameplay, why did it have to be a third-person shooter? I thought the game was originally going to be like a top-down style game like Diablo. That actually could have been fun, given that the kids are back in their fantasy outfits. But ultimately, with Snow Day, it just doesn't set itself apart from other mediocre third-person shooters. Let's get this video back on a more positive angle here, shall we? I want to talk about Princess Peach Showtime. My goodness. Like, even though the game looks pretty easy, it looks fun. Like, it has an identity of its own that separates it from other Mario games even. Not only does Peach get her own set of power-ups, but those power-ups also flow nicely into the gameplay. Even when genre shifts happen, that flow is still there, especially during the ending. The story is your average Mario game fare, in the sense that it's not going to be an insanely metaphorical journey. But if there's one word I'd use to describe Princess Peach Showtime's story, it would be whimsical. And I really do think we need a lot more whimsy in our lives with all the depressing shit that's going on in society. Lastly, I'm gonna talk about Guilty Gear Strive, because of course I am. I'm a firm believer that the mechanics in Strive are really fucking good. I have seen plenty, and I mean plenty of footage from the older Guilty Gear games, and I gotta say, I just like the way that Strive flows. I mainly like the fact that the fight is not over as soon as I get pushed to the wall. I can't believe I've been playing Strive for almost 3 years, and I'm finally starting to realize how versatile the Roman cancel is too. A critique that I hear of Strive is that it's just all style, no substance, but I think that style actually does add to the substance of the game. The attacks, being as flashy as they are, actually have a purpose to the gameplay. If you ask me, I think that's because it allows both players to think, what am I going to do next, after one person uses an overdrive attack. In general, I like it when games ask me the question, what are you going to do when you're in a precarious situation? Stellar Blade doesn't ask you that question at all. The colored telegraphed attacks tell you you have to dodge or you have to block. In Strive, when an overdrive attack happens, the opponent is asking you the question, what are you going to do? And you have options to deal with that overdrive attack. In Devil May Cry and other games like it, when an enemy or boss attacks you, the game asks the player, what will you do? It doesn't telegraph exactly what you should do. It gives you options as to how to deal with the obstacle. So you're probably asking yourself, Scurvy, what makes a game have identity to you? Chances are you didn't ask that and you're cursing me out in the comments section. But I will answer this question anyways. What makes a game have a soul to me is unique character design, an interesting or compelling story, a great and enticing gameplay loop with mechanics that flow well with each other, and gameplay at the forefront with skippable cutscenes as a reward for those who care about the story. With all that being said, thank you for watching and or listening to this, and I'll see you guys on the next one.